Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Aman Jaspal. I'm a licensed immigration advisor for New Zealand and I'm an advisor for Australia at 1881 Global. I'm joined today by my co-host Samina Jaspal. Samina is also a senior licensed immigration advisor with 1881 Global. Today we have a very fascinating guest with us, and I've been trying to get her to come and talk to us and share her valuable knowledge for a while now. She comes from Estonia, a beautiful country in the Baltic region of Europe. Estonia has a population of very small country with 1.5 million people, but it's known internationally for its digital innovation and its leadership in e-governance. Siiri Sutt is here with us today. She's a trailblazer in international cultural training and global mobility, and she's helped over the past 20 years thousands of migrants to settle and call Estonia home. There's a lot that we, as employers in New Zealand as a country, and global mobility professionals of around the world can learn from Siiri and her experience. So it's a real pleasure. Without much ado, I will invite Siiri on the stage. Siiri, thank you so much for joining us today. It's a real pleasure to have you here with us.
Thank you so much, Aman and Samena, for inviting me because I must admit it was quite a surprise when I received the invitation from New Zealand with a proposal to talk here today, because these two countries are quite far from each other. And I'm really happy that you have noticed the work we have been doing here in Estonia, and you really feel that it might be helpful for you guys as well in New Zealand. Pleasure to be here.
Thanks. Welcome, Siiri. And like you said, I think all of us in global mobilization now, the world always seems to get smaller and smaller, and the more we can learn off each other, I think, is great. Siiri, your career, you've had such a fascinating career so far. Aman and I we researched it and we looked into you before we had our initial chat the last year. And, you've worked with global organizations and you've worked in different countries, creating programs that have now touched a lot of people's lives, where it be partners settling in or people settling into a new country. So we can't wait to hear your story and just learn, like Aman said, from Estonia's innovative approach to expat integration.
I'm very happy to share everything I know and we have been doing. So yeah, it's a pleasure to talk to you here today.
So, Siri, let's start from the beginning. Tell us a little bit about your childhood growing up. What was it like? Where did you grow up? What were your initial influences that probably, led you to doing this so much amazing work that you're doing right now? So, take us through your childhood journey and what was it like growing up back in Estonia?
Yeah, I'm Estonian. I was born in Estonia, but at that time, Estonia was an occupied country. So I actually grew up when Estonia was occupied by the Soviet Union. So it was a very closed society, very closed country. We couldn't travel, we couldn't leave the country and visit other countries. So it was a very, very different life what we have today. And I must admit that when I was at school and then I was studying languages, especially English language, and we studied everything about English-speaking countries, including New Zealand and Australia, about the flora and fauna. And then I was thinking that why should I all learn this? Because I can never go and visit those places, because at that time, this was the life in the Soviet Union. And we didn't imagine, right, at that time when I was at school, that our country will get free and we will have independence again, and we are free to travel and visit other countries and talk to other people. So it was very, very different from what we have right now. But now Estonia is an independent, free country in the northern part of Europe, and we are extremely happy and proud to be Estonians and proud to be part of Europe.
That's such an interesting answer, and to give everyone a little bit of a background of something that they may not have already known. You touched a little bit on your studies, when it came to studies, and I know that you studied linguistics at the University of Tartu. That's such a fascinating field. How did your studies shape your understanding of culture and communication?
Yeah, my own native language is Estonian language. And I was studying foreign languages. I was studying English, German, Latin, Finnish language. And language and culture are very much connected. And you can't learn the language without knowing the culture. It might be that you know the words, you know the meaning of the words, but if you don't know what is behind these words and behind them, the meaning, you can't understand each other. And in global transition, actually, it is said that sometimes it is most difficult for people when they move from one country to another, when they move to the country where people speak the same language. So they don't even imagine that the culture might be different. For example, when Americans move to Great Britain, they think, oh, it's easy. I know the language, I know the words and everything, but the culture might be absolutely different. And with learning the language, you learn a lot about this culture.
That is really fascinating. It's really, really interesting way to look at it, and something that would give a lot of thought, food for thought for a lot of people. So that's amazing. And Siiri, you have traveled around the world, right? You've lived in US, you've lived in Luxembourg, and a lot of other countries. Which country did you? What was your take of these different cultures, and were they? How did you manage to navigate them? You coming from a small country like Estonia, which is kind of little cut off from a lot of places. And a lot of people around the world maybe don't know about where Estonia really is, are not really aware of Estonian culture. How do you sort of manage to, going to these new places, explaining them where you belong, and yourself adapting their culture? So tell us a little bit more about that part of your journey.
I think that for me, the most difficult was my first move. It was the end of 90s when we moved to the United States together with the family. We had 2 kids at that time. And as I mentioned at the beginning, I came from a closed society. So living in the Soviet Union was really absolutely something different. And then, of course, we all had our imaginations. We kind of expected some things from the life in the US, and we. I think that we definitely were very curious, and we wanted to move there. The move was because of my husband's job. But it was really difficult because there were moments that I didn't expect and I was not ready for. At that time, I didn't know much about cultural differences or all this, all the knowledge I have today. And there were so many situations that were extremely difficult for me to understand. And in some moments, I was a little bit annoyed. I was angry. I missed my home. And it was quite challenging time. So the second time was already easier because I knew what to expect. And that's why I really think that people who move to another culture for the first time, it is very important to prepare those people for the changes, even if the country is quite close and seems that, oh yeah, we speak the same language and I know a lot about it, but still living in a different culture is something something different than just visiting another country.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you, Siiri. And I think over the years, working with businesses in New Zealand as well as individuals coming in, that importance and my knowledge of understanding how to impart, part of our Kiwi culture and letting them know a little bit about what they can expect much before they're traveling to New Zealand really goes a long way, and it helps in the long run for settling in. So I really loved hearing your insight on that. I'm going to sort of let us have a little break from the serious questions for a minute. And I thought something fun would be to do, because you said you learnt about New Zealand sort of through studies as well. But could you describe Estonia in 3 words, that being your country, and then describe what you think of New Zealand or the kind of images you have for New Zealand in 3 words?
Yeah, at first I have to say that I have never been to New Zealand, but I would love to go. So it's in my list. So definitely I will do it in the near future. But describing Estonia, it's a small country. It's a Nordic country with a lot of beautiful nature, very flat country, and we don't have too many people. Actually, I was a little bit checking New Zealand as well and the population, and I see that you even have less people per square kilometer than we have. But it is in Estonia. It's one of the countries that is where the density of population is the lowest. And Estonians are extremely proud of their culture, their song festivals, and everything that is related to the culture, singing, dancing, our costumes and all this, and of course innovation. So these are the things about Estonia. As for New Zealand, I know that you guys have a wonderful nature and beautiful country as well, and the wildlife is really amazing there. So this is what I know right now about New Zealand.
That's amazing. And you're right. I think Estonia, regardless of its small population, it's a world leader in terms of its digital innovation, its e-governance. It's a lot of people, I don't know if they know about it, but the startups like Skype were founded in Estonia. And it's still a world leader in a lot of e-governance solutions that are coming and which are being adopted by countries around the world. So it's really amazing. And like you said, New Zealand has its own virtues in terms of being a country which is beautiful. It promotes its nature, its clean environment. So I wanted to ask you, how does these unique traits, Siiri, which are symbolic of a country and which become a part of their own culture, like a country which is specializing in digital innovation, country which is prioritizing ecotourism or its natural beauties. How does that sort of influence the culture of individual countries, in your opinion?
Maybe just with a couple of words, how this digital innovation started and why it started. So it was, we got back our freedom at the beginning of 1991. So this is when the occupation ended in Estonia. Estonia became a free, independent country. And we had to build up the new country because we didn't have anything. We didn't have our own economy. We didn't have modern banks. We didn't have companies like in normal capitalist countries. So we started from zero. And when we started to build up our society, we, of course, looked forward. We wanted to do the modern things we needed to do. For example, internet banking was the first one that maybe started this all this digital innovation, and slowly all the other areas also joined. So today I can say that 99% of the public services are all online and accessible 24 hours per day, every day. So we can do everything online. And I think that the thinking behind this digital innovation was also preserving our nature. We don't want to cut all our trees. Our country is covered by forest. 50% of the country is covered by forest. We don't want to cut our trees to make paper, and we don't want to destroy our culture. And that's why we decided that we don't use paper anymore. We do everything online, digitally. So we basically don't have any documents. I don't have any documents on paper at home because they are all online. All the bank statements, or let's say doctor's prescriptions, or birth certificates, and also my school certificates, everything is online. I don't have them on paper anymore. So I think that one thinking behind this is really we want to keep our nature. We don't want to destroy the planet with producing some things that we actually do not need.
I think that's amazing. It sounds like Estonia is living in the future, you know, not just with the digital age, but also by preserving your country and looking after the environment, which is, you know, exactly where I think a lot of us could learn a lot of countries in the world using that as well. I wanted to touch now on sort of the programs that you've created in Estonia. You've helped over 400 expat spouses through the Reinvent Yourself in Estonia program. So what inspired you to start the program? If you could maybe let our listeners know a little bit about the program, and what was your vision for it?
The reason why I started it together with a couple of colleagues was my own experience, because I had been living expat life for over 10 years in different countries, and every time we moved, I had to start my career from zero. We moved because of my husband's job. So he had his career, but I had to leave my career back home, all my clients and everything what I did. I moved to a new country and I started from zero. And I know how difficult it is. Even although I was in HR field for all these years, and I know how to write a resume or how to behave an interview, but I must say that in every country, it is slightly different. There are some unwritten rules that we do not know. And if you are looking for a job in a country, in a new country, you need to know something about how to do it. And the other thing, in Estonia, we realized that if we want to keep those high professionals, the expats who came to Estonia to work, if we want to keep them in Estonia for many years, then we have to take care of the families as well. We have to do something that their spouses would be happy and find some professional activity that they also like living in Estonia, and also the kids who go to school. So So I think that these were the triggers why we started this program, but it was really to help those people who moved to Estonia because somebody else's job, not on their own decision.
That's amazing. That's great learning, I think, for not just Estonian businesses, but I think businesses in New Zealand and in fact around the world, that you need to keep that in mind for for a successful skilled worker who can contribute it best to the organization is when their families are being looked after. And it's amazing that kind of work that you are doing, Siiri, and I think it's something really valuable that you're bringing in to the Estonian ecosystem and also to employers in Estonia. So touching on that again, could you tell us some success stories that stand out for you? Anything in particular that you have really as part of your journey with Reinvent Yourself in Estonia that that has stayed along with you that you would like to share with the viewers?
I think it's very difficult to bring out like one or two stories. I think that we have had so many different people in the program with so different background, educational background, professional background, and each and every story has been a wonderful story. But maybe one thing what I want to point out that this program is not only to teach people how to write the CV or how to behave in the interview. It's more about networking and helping those people to grow their professional network in Estonia. And secondly, the name of the program is Reinvent Yourself. And it's for the reason, because we have had a lot of people in the program who actually really reinvented themselves. They couldn't do the same job in Estonia, what they did back at home, or they didn't want to do it. And they started absolutely something new. I remember a young lady from Turkey who worked as a children's psychiatrist in Turkey for over 10 years. And it was a very prestigious job and very good job. But all her life, she had been dreaming of becoming or working in a museum or in the area of arts and history and something absolutely different. But she couldn't do that change back at home because, the family and the friends, everybody was like questioning, oh, why you are doing this? Yeah. But now she had a perfect moment. So she had this dream, and I think that we really encouraged her to do this change because this is something she really really dreamed about. And so she started from zero, went to the university for some years, studied a new field, and ended up working in a museum. And she was super happy, and she really said that she couldn't have done it back at home, but being in another country was a perfect moment to change something in your professional career as well, learn something new.
I really love that. I love that Reinvent Yourself, the actual name of your program, is actually what people are able to do sort of under your guidance and within the program. It's really quite, it's motivating. It's motivating to hear that. So this is what you're doing now and what you're providing now to in Estonia. But you did work with some other organizations like IMF and AMROD as well. What was the biggest cultural challenge that you have sort of faced in these global roles, and how did you overcome that?
Yeah, when being in IMF, I was the member of the IMF Family Association board. So the board consisted of 12 people from all over the world. So really from very different countries, very different background. And this was the first time when I worked in really multicultural team. I mean, where everybody was from different country. This was the first time I realized that people see time differently, or people really, how to say, the hierarchy in different cultures has very different meaning, and it was sometimes quite difficult to make some decisions in the board because the views were so different. People had so many different experiences, and their own culture started to play a big role in this work and in making those decisions. At that time, I didn't know much about it. I couldn't analyze why somebody was saying what she was saying, or why somebody was behaving like he was behaving. And it was just weird for me sometimes when somebody said, oh, we should do this, or this is not a good idea. I was like thinking, really? Oh, it's such a good idea. Why don't you support this? I couldn't see deeper, And I think that this was the time that taught me the beauty of these differences, and it really gave me this push that I should know more. I should learn about it. And this was the time when I started to attend global mobility conferences, and also participated in the courses of how to become a cross-cultural trainer. So this was kind of a push that pushed me to this field, what I'm doing right now. Yeah.
That's amazing. I also want to know, Siiri, from your opinion, you've dealt with so many people, helping them sort of adjust into in countries, especially expats. What are the lessons you feel from your personal experience? Countries like New Zealand, or even countries around the world, and even businesses can learn from your experience. What are one or two valuable takes that you feel that everybody around the world who's in the global mobility sector should adopt from your personal experience?
What I see, like I mentioned earlier, before I made my first move, my first relocation, it would have been really helpful if I had known what's going to happen. What is this adjustment? What are the feelings I'm going to go through? And also to know more about the country where I'm going. Of course, we can all read from internet that, okay, these are the 5 do's and don'ts, and this is important. But these do's and don'ts do not help very often. So, and they, it can be sometimes disturbing as well, but these cross-cultural trainings would have been really, really helpful before moving to a new country. So I have been doing this job also when I lived in Luxembourg, helping a lot of families who moved mainly from the United States to Luxembourg to work there. So, and a lot of people told me after those trainings that they feel much more comfortable, much more relaxed. And one person, for one family, the training was somehow something happened. It was a little bit too late, like 6 months after they had moved there. And then they told me that, oh, if we had had this training at the beginning of the move, our life would have been so much easier. So this training came a little bit too late, after 6 months. So probably you have learned some things in a hard way already. So I think that these preparation trainings, preparing families for international moving from one country to another, that helps a lot. And also the companies, because then the employee who actually is changing the work, so the employee can focus on the work, not focusing on helping the family, the spouse, kids to adjust. So the employee can focus on work, and it's the adaptation is much more smooth than without knowing anything.
And just leading on even further for that, if you were designing a similar program, whether it be for a country like New Zealand, or I guess it could be any country, what are the key elements that you would include to help expats and their spouses integrate successfully?
Mm-hmm. I think that one of the first things is learning the local language. I think it's with New Zealand, it's a little bit easier. So people speak English, and that is not such a obstacle. But for example, Estonian language is such a small language and quite difficult language. But in order to succeed living in this country, it is important to know at least the basics, so that you feel comfortable and you feel part of the society. So learning the local language is really a must, I would say, and that also helps those people to adjust in new culture. So, for example, Estonian government is offering Estonian lessons for free for expats who come to Estonia. I think it's a very big thing, and I think this is a very good decision taken by the government. So the second thing is pay attention to the families. So I think that this is important topic that a lot of companies are forgetting. You know, they usually hire a very good specialist, expat talent, but they don't think that this person has also a family who is relocating together with this employee, and they need attention and help as well. And if the family is unhappy, either spouse or kids, and they do not adjust, then the family just leaves the country. And that's a lot of a waste of money, because the company has paid for recruiting this top specialist. The company has paid for relocation, and now if this person leaves because the family didn't adjust, it's a waste of money. So I think that all the companies should think that. Plus, there is a gap. Let's say that you don't have a person who is doing the job, because you have to start the process all over again. So maybe these are really the two key things what come to my mind. But of course, there are a lot of other things as well.
Thank you, Siiri. Now, I wanted to sort of switch it up. Often when we talk about culture and understanding countries' culture, food can come into it. So I'd love to know a little bit about what is your favorite Estonian dish? You know, Aman and I don't know that much about sort of the food and how it ties in with culture there. And just, you know, if you've ever had anything that you can relate to what you know, in New Zealand, we consider sort of like part of our traditional dishes.
Yeah. I think that there are a lot of dishes that I love from Estonia, but I think that black bread, it means rye bread, really rye bread is something that I really need wherever I live. So, for example, when we lived in the United States, so I started to bake this myself. I usually never did this because we can buy it from groceries, and there are a lot of very good different styles of rye bread. But in living in the United States, I just had to make it myself at home, because this this is so Estonian, and this is something that that I really like. And during Christmas, actually, we eat a lot blood sausage or black pudding, as you say in people say in UK or Ireland. So this is our Christmas dish. So this is what I like to eat during Christmas, not all the year round. And of course, there are a lot of other things as well.
That's amazing. It's good to know. It's these are some things new, and I'm definitely Samina and I would look up YouTube and try to sort of recreate some of the dishes that you have just mentioned. It'd be love to. It'd be interesting. Let you know how that comes out. I also notice the passion, say that you have in helping people from different cultures come and settle in, and especially the families. I would want to know if this was not what you were doing. Uh, what other occupation or job would Siiri Sutt be into? Like, because I can see you as a passionate individual, and I'm pretty sure anything that you would take up, you'd put in with that same amount of passion. But any other occupations that you ever come onto your mind that, if this is not it, that's something else that I would do?
I think that I'm a pretty good teacher. I like teaching, and actually, when I studied at the university, I was trained as a teacher. So, and in a way, I'm doing it right away, right now as well. When I'm doing the cross-cultural trainings, it's also kind of teaching, but teaching children at school would be something that I really love to do as well. And I'm sure that I will do it one day.
Okay, that's lovely. Teaching's a great profession. All right, another fun question. What's one thing about Estonia that most people don't know, but they should know?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that one thing people sometimes mix up, or a lot of people all over the world, when we talk about Estonia, they think that we are part of Eastern Europe. But actually, Estonia is a Nordic country. Culturally and also language-wise, our language is very close to Finnish language, and we are Nordic people. And I really want that people know that. So our thinking and our mentality, our behavior is much closer to Finnish culture or Swedish culture rather than Eastern European cultures.
Okay, that's amazing. And Siri, anywhere in the world apart from Estonia you would want to live in or move? You've traveled around the world, right? You've seen the world, you've traveled, experienced different cultures. Where would you consider moving if you ever had an option to move out of Estonia?
That's a very difficult question. I think that I'm a very curious person, so I would be happy to live in some other place for a couple of years, in some other country. There are a lot of countries that would be very interesting for me, but Estonia would be really the country where I want to stay really to the end. But if I had to move today, then I would probably move to London. And it's a very personal reason, because my two children live in London, and it would be a great opportunity to be closer to them. And also, London is a very multicultural city, and you don't feel that you are a stranger there or you are outsider. So it's always easier to live in the place where there are already a lot of different cultures, and people include you to this community much more easily than in some other place.
London. I think that's a great choice. I was born in London, and then I moved back to the UK in my late 20s and worked there within HR and recruitment. So London has a special place for me too. And I think you're right. You can sort of be away from London for a very long time and then go back and just step right in. So I really like that. Going back into work, like again, working with expat families and professionals and their spouses who are often professionals as well. What qualities or skills do you think are essential for thriving in our now globalized world?
Yeah, I think that it's really important to be very open-minded and very curious and really ready to try different things, not thinking that, oh, we back at home did this way and this is really strange what the people do here. So I think that those people who are open-minded and want to try new things, it's easier for them to adjust. And of course, in a new place, I think that the very important thing is that you have a good network. So building the network is super important as well. And this is what we are trying to do during our programs.
That's amazing. So, Siiri, I want to get your advice, just one piece of advice for young professionals who's just starting out in the global mobility sector or who want to be a part of, initiatives like similar to what you are doing in terms of helping families settle in. So, what is one piece of advice for somebody who's starting out his journey as a young career professional that you would feel that it's most important that they should keep in mind? I would love to hear that from you.
I think that those people who work in global mobility area and cross-cultural, intercultural studies and trainings, I think that those people should have their own personal experience living and working in a different culture. If you haven't experienced it, it's quite difficult for you to help other people because you cannot put yourself into their shoes. Really different experiences help a lot. And of course, studying and reading and watching a lot of films and about other countries, about how people live in those countries. So all this background information helps as well. But definitely your own experience is crucial.
You could go back in time. Obviously, some of these times might have been when you were experiencing this yourself. What advice would you give to that younger Siiri when maybe you were, moving to the States for the first time or any of these stages in your life? What advice would you give your younger self now?
Oh, it's a very difficult question. So maybe really I would recommend to relax a little bit more, and maybe especially when I'm thinking of the first move overseas, I think that I should have learned more about this country and the culture and the background. So maybe I just lacked the information. And if, for example, today I have to move again to a new place, I already know how to look for the information and what to pay attention to. But being open-minded, I still think this is a crucial thing.
That's amazing. See, are you into reading books? I'm pretty sure, right? You read books, and are you? How do you spend your time? Do you like movies? Do you like art? How do you engage your time away from work?
Yeah, I think I do all those what what you mentioned. I read and I watch movies. This is actually watching films is really kind of a way of relaxing and getting my mind out of some everyday challenges. And of course, art has a big part in my life as well. But talking about reading books, what I really recommend, for example, if you want to know more about one country and culture, more deeper cultural connections, I recommend to read the fairy tales of those countries, because the fairy tales always teach you something, and usually they are really connected with the very deep values of this this nation or this culture where they come from. So if you read the fairy tales stories from Estonia, you definitely learn a lot what kind of people Estonians are.
That is, yeah, fairy tales. I think that does. You're right. It says a lot, and it can give you a deep look into the past. But those fairy tales are often still told, so it says a lot about the culture from wherever you're looking into it. I like that advice. I think I will definitely take that forward when I'm looking at new countries. Would be a great point of research. Finally, Siiri, what's your ultimate vision for cultural adaptation programs, sort of globally?
I think that this is my personal feeling, that maybe not too many companies are paying attention to those programs, and especially when they hire international talent. I think that sometimes they understand that, yeah, it might be a good thing, but what I have heard a lot is that, yeah, maybe we don't have budget for that at this moment, or we will deal with the cultural differences. We just cook something different, and some I think that companies do not take it too seriously, this matter, and especially today when we have so many global teams and we have so many virtual teams. And in virtual teams, it's even much more difficult with these cultural differences, because people are behind the screen, and you always do not see the face and the gestures, or how people are reacting to one or another topic. And these conflicts and misunderstandings are very easy to become when people are not on the same page and they don't know what to pay attention to. So I think that there is a lot of room for those global mobility programs, or intercultural trainings, or adaptation trainings, and support. And today we speak a lot about mental health of our employees and the balance, work-life balance. And I think that this adaptation should be part of each company's training portfolio, let's put it this way, to really support the people who are struggling with maybe moving from one place to another. And sometimes, or very often, those people do not admit to their employer that, yeah, I have a problem with adapting here, or my family has some issues. So they keep it somewhere for themselves. And the result is that people are really not focusing 100% to job, but they are struggling with their personal issues. So I would really recommend to pay more attention to those programs.
Amazing. I think that's a really great way to a great note to end our conversation. I think it's something very valuable lesson that you have just pointed out, Siri.
Thank you for having me, and I hope that I will find some messages in my LinkedIn mailbox now from New Zealand, and I'm really happy to share our experience with anybody. Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. I think it's always great when we can, like professionals, we're in the same space, but in completely different countries, but there's always some kind of overlap and connections that we can make. So thank you so much for joining us, Siiri, and thank you to everybody who's watching. Again, like you heard Siiri say, if you've got any questions, if you maybe are looking at Estonia, or you've already got family or friends there, she's the right person to give you some answers to those questions, and maybe reinvent yourself there, which is exciting. So thanks everyone for joining for our first webinar of 2025. Thanks. We'll see you all soon.
Thank you.
Thank